In the last days, before the tribulation, the Bible says that Gaza will be abandoned and basically uninhabited anymore. And then God's going to give the land back to Judah, the tribe of Israel. Is that what Trump's about to do?
President Trump puts this plan forth, Joel, essentially saying, look, we're going to relocate the Palestinians out of Gaza. It's been a terror hotbed, a hornet's nest for decades, and to surrounding Arab Muslim countries. Then we're going to do something new in Gaza. Behold, I'm doing something new.
Right.
And rebuild Gaza. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on this. It's outside the box, number one.
It is.
Because we've been banging our heads against the wall for decades, doing the same thing over and over in Gaza. Billions of dollars. Terror groups pocket it, use it to launch attacks against Israel. Then we rebuild Gaza, and the beat goes on.
Right.
This is certainly an outside the box kind of proposal. Do you believe there are some prophetic implications here, even with this Gaza proposal from President Trump?
Probably. Let's set some context, because most people are like, okay, what's going on again? So let's, you and I are sort of area experts, so let's broaden this out. I want my mom to understand it. I want my friends, who this is not their day to day. Okay, so a couple things. So during this last 16, 17 months, one of the big refrains from the Arab leadership, but also from the Biden administration and from all of European governments is, Prime Minister Netanyahu, what's your day after plan? What's your day after plan? What's your day after plan? After Gaza, after the war is over, what are you going to do? What's your day after plan? What's your day after plan? What's your day after plan? And Netanyahu's like, listen, my plan right now is to win.
I mean, they were asking this like on October 8th.
Yeah, exactly. And every day since. And he's like, look, my idea is to win. And by the way, you're not helping me. Yeah. He would try to say it as respectfully as he could, but President Biden basically wanted us to fight in Gaza with one hand tied behind our back. The Biden's view was, you're going to stop fighting. That's how you're going to get your hostages out, and then you're not going to go back to fighting. That's the deal. That's the Biden plan of May of last year. And Prime Minister Netanyahu was like, look, Joe, you and I have known each other 50 years, and we like each other, but I just, I hear you, I just disagree with you. You're asking me to surrender.
Yeah. We
cannot surrender. Hamas has already said, we're going to do this again and again and again and again and again. The genocidal ambitions of Hamas leadership is not a secret.
No.
It's in their charter from 1987, and it's part of their plan.
It's a demonic death cult.
It is.
Modern day Nazis.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
100%. So what President Biden and his team were offering was surrender. And Netanyahu said no. Now, Netanyahu, in May of last year, he didn't know that Biden wasn't going to keep running. He didn't know that Harris was going to lose, and he didn't know that Trump was going to win. So, but he made a gamble, and that is, I want the hostages back, but I cannot surrender. At the end of the day, we've got to win 100%. It had to be total victory in Gaza. Okay, so that's the context. Now, the dramatic reversal of Biden-Harris to Trump-Vance is the biggest game changer on the planet right now, right? And it is the answer to tens of millions of Christians' prayers. So that's a big moment too, and it's having an effect already in the Middle East. Now, President Biden refused to even invite Prime Minister Netanyahu, America's main ally, in a hot war, being attacked from 7 directions. Biden refused to invite Netanyahu to the White House. Yeah. So Trump says, we're not going to do it that way. And he invites Netanyahu as the first foreign guest, the first foreign leader in. And then he shocks Netanyahu. Netanyahu would never have asked this in a million years. I've known him for a quarter of a century. I'm telling you, it never dawned on Benjamin Netanyahu to ask Trump, would America just take responsibility for Gaza? But Trump comes out and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, we're going to make Gaza great again. Eric, you're probably thinking Gaza was never great, and it wasn't, but we're going to make it great. I'm going to take it, I'm going to own it, I'm going to clear it, I'm going to build it, It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have Trump Tower. We're going to have Gaza al Largo. We're going to have Disney Gaza. It's going to be great. We're going to have boardwalks and skee ball. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to want a vacation there. All right, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Yeah. But the heart of what he said was, everybody's been saying, where's Netanyahu's plan? Trump comes in, he says to the Arab world, where's your plan? To the Europeans, where's your plan? You guys have no plan. The war is 16 months old. Where's your plan? Okay, I have a plan. You guys don't have one. I have one. I'm in charge. You could see the smile on Netanyahu's face.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, what? You're in charge? You're going to take
He was shocked, too.
Shocked.
At the podium.
I think he heard it maybe an hour or two before, but he just astonished. It never dawned on him. So, what's Trump's plan? Well, he sends in Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff is the new top Middle East envoy, the Jared Kushner of the second term. Right? Yeah. Steve Witkoff is Jewish. Steve Witkoff has no Middle East experience. But what does he have? First, he has Trump's trust. Second, he's a negotiator par excellence.
Yeah,
he's just world class. He's a real estate developer, like Trump, in New York. Not easy, right? And so the first thing Witkoff does is he gets sent by Trump to go negotiate the hostage deal. And lo and behold, all the hostages that were supposed to come out in the first phase, they came out. Biden couldn't get it done. Trump and Witkoff do. The next thing Trump asked Witkoff to do is go to Gaza. No American official has gone into Gaza in 15 years. I went as a reporter, but I'm not an official. Like I don't have any diplomatic experience or anything. So what does Steve Witkoff see? He sees what I saw: apocalyptic wasteland as far as the eye can see. I mean, just almost every building is damaged or destroyed. Why? Because almost every building had rockets coming out of it and had to be bombed, or had terrorists shooting out of it and had to be bombed, or had weapons stored in it and then it was booby-trapped, so Israeli soldiers couldn't safely get in there, so they bombed them.
Gaza was essentially one big booby trap.
Absolutely.
Nothing like it.
A base camp for terror.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trump says, okay, Steve, what did you see? Apocalyptic wasteland. Unexploded ordnance, weapons everywhere, and of course, terrorists running amok. Okay, Steve, what do we do? Well, anyone who's saying it's going to take 3 years to rebuild this, they're smoking crack. Again, paraphrasing. Witkoff says it's going to take 10 to 15 years. But the first thing you have to do is get people safe. We have to remove them to safety so that we can clear the ruins and the wreckage and the bombs and the bullets, and then start to have engineers assess what's possible. They got 500 miles of tunnels that some of them have blown up, others are sagging. Can you build on top of them? You have to assess it. And then you need a plan, and then you need money, and then you need to start to build. So Witkoff says to Trump, I don't see that there's enough space in Gaza to take 2 million people that are destitute and shell-shocked and grieving and traumatized, and leave them there, in tents for the next 10 to 15 years? I mean, that's not compassionate. No. We're going to have to move them out. So this is where Trump on Air Force One starts floating the idea. We're going to move them to Egypt. We're going to move them to Jordan, and the Saudis are going to pay for it. Now, the Egyptians and the Jordanians were like, oh, I'm sorry, what? And they're not happy about this. No. Now, then Bret Baier asked the question on Fox News, Mr. President, you've said you want to rebuild Gaza, okay, and it's going to take 10 to 15 years, okay, and then you want to move everybody out while you build. Now, what I want to ask you, Bret Baier said, was then Palestinians from Gaza have the right to go back, right? This was the game-changing conversation, the moment where everything changed, where Trump says, no, they're not going to go back. And Baier was like, but you want to build this beautiful place. So that's for the Palestinians, right? They're not going to want to go back because they're already going to have great houses, in Egypt or Jordan or Syria.
And Joel, hold on, folks. I should have mentioned Joel also hosts a stand-up comedy show every Saturday night.
Clearly
impersonations, incredible, right here on TBN. But Joel, go ahead. In all seriousness, go ahead.
Who needs SNL when you have TBN,
Come on.
right? Okay, I'll stop that. But the point being, So then that really changed the dynamic. First, it was a sort of a Trump's compassionate approach to just what do you do? Yeah. Then it became, to the Arab ear, oh, you just want to get rid of everybody and never let them come back. Now that has been done in most wars. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So this is when you have an aggressor who does a sneak attack and then is unrepentant. When they lose, they usually don't get to have their own terms.
Especially, as you said, if they initiate the war.
Absolutely.
There's consequences for that.
Exactly. So where does this leave us? And your central question is, could this be prophetic? And it could, and I want to explain quickly how. So there's two things that could be happening here. The first thing is that Trump could be saying all of this that I just walked through as an early negotiating position to get a Saudi-Israeli deal.
Yeah.
Trump's approach, so that's one option. I'll explain that. But the second option is that this is prophecy, that this is Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2, most people have never studied it. I would encourage people to dust it off, go look at it. In the last days, before the tribulation, the Bible says that Gaza will be abandoned and basically uninhabited anymore. And then God's going to give the land back to Judah, the tribe of Israel. Is that what Trump's about to do? I don't know. So if we have another moment, I'll walk through but this is possible. I never even imagined it.
Yeah, we don't, nor did I. And in today's Middle East, though, Joel, expect the unexpected. That's the one constant in the Middle East.
I guess, but there is unexpected, and then there's, wow, this is totally unexpected. I've read those verses. I never imagined an American president would say, we're going to move 2 million people out of Gaza and they can't come back. Now, I will say I believe that the people of Gaza are under judgment. Why? I say that with sadness, but they're under judgment because for 8 decades they have cursed Israel and the Jewish people. Yes. And Genesis chapter 12, verse 3 says, I mean, this is part of the Abrahamic covenant. God said regarding Israel and the Jewish people, I will bless those who bless you, but those who curse you, I will curse. If you curse Israel and for 8 decades and you are given back all your land in 2005, Israel withdraws, and Ariel Sharon, the prime minister at the time, says, go build a Palestinian paradise. You have beachfront property. Yeah. You have natural gas right off your shores. You've got smart, industrious people. Build a Palestinian paradise. But instead, your first election, you don't choose the moderate, though corrupt Palestinian Authority. You choose a genocidal terror group called Hamas, who takes all the money and all the weapons and builds a genocidal machine. Yeah. There are consequences. And I believe that Gaza is under judgment. That's why this is so bad. Now, the question is, does that judgment include, are we now at Zephaniah 2 or approaching it quickly, where God's going to say, yeah, part of your judgment is you don't get to live there anymore. You were given 8 decades of peace treaty scenarios, and in fact, you were actually given the land back. Not the West Bank. The Gaza was given to all the Palestinians, not a single Israeli soldier, not a single Israeli civilian. And that's been that way for 18 years, or so, let's see, almost 20 years now. 20 years ago, Gaza was given to the people of Gaza, go build your paradise. Yeah. And they built a genocidal terror machine. So we may be at, or rapidly approaching, the moment where God's like, not only are you facing the judgment of this horrible war, but you forfeited the right to even live there. And God has moved out people in other times. Just as the enemies of Israel have forced Jews out of their way. That's possible. But it's also possible, let's go back to option 1. President Trump likes to put out scenarios at first that seem extreme to his negotiating partner. We're going to take Panama back. We're not giving it to the Chinese. Right? And then Secretary of State Rubio heads down to Panama. And the president of Panama goes, we surrender, we surrender. Yeah. All right, we were with the Chinese. We're abandoning the Chinese. We're back with America. Okay, we won't invade maybe. So the question...
Leverage works.
Leverage works. And Trump started with his friends. He didn't do this with China and Russia and Iran on day one. He did this with Mexico, China, Greenland, and Panama. Yeah. Why did he do this? Because he wanted to show that America's back. And we're not going to get bullied by our friends. We're certainly not going to get bullied by our enemies. Now, with the Saudis, what does he want? He wants a Saudi-Israeli deal of the millennia. So how do you get that? Well, one way might be to say, all the Palestinians have to leave and never get to go back. And you're going to pay for it, and we're going to rebuild Gaza. Now, what if the Saudis counter with, well, we'll pay for it, and we can rebuild it with you, but the Palestinians have to go back if they want to? Trump might take that deal.
Yeah.
And the people that can't come back might be anybody he considers a terrorist. And others might truly, genuinely want to live someplace else. Not many people would want to live in Gaza. Yeah. And then those who are peaceful-minded, great, let's go build it into Singapore and Dubai. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but I'm saying we are at the precipice of, I believe, is a prophetic moment in which every time, almost every time that Gaza mentioned in the Bible, 20 mentions, almost every time it's related to Gaza's wickedness and God's judgment. So we're definitely in that moment. Gaza's being judged. Whether they're being judged that they'll literally be moved out in our lifetime as opposed to the millennial kingdom or something, I actually don't know. But these are some of the things I'm watching. At the same time, we need to be preaching the gospel to the people of Gaza because, they're under judgment, but so were the people of Nineveh. God sent Jonah to Nineveh. Jonah didn't want to do it. But it's not just about judgment. God says to Jonah, shouldn't I have compassion? These people did repent. Shouldn't I relent? So these are some tough things for us to process as Christians.